Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I've got an interesting video for you today, and it is a bit of a departure from my traditional mechanical watch or automatic watch content. This is a rose gold plated, very thin diver from a brand called NOVE. This is the Trident Diver, comes in under 7 millimeters in height, has a unique externally mounted bezel here where you guys can see the catchment within the teeth, the inner teeth of this bezel. It's a really interesting piece, but you might be saying, Bruce, dude, that looks like a fashion watch. What are you trying to do here? Why are you showing me this watch? Well, let me tell you guys, I have a bit of a confession. I had some dark days as a watch fan. I was into fashion watches years and years ago before I got into traditional watches. And why do I say that? Well, I get requests for me to feature watches all the time, every week. And I say no to about 95, 97% of them. But occasionally when something grabs my interest, I'll say, yeah, sure, let's do it. So I said yes for this NOVE because it reminded me of my early days in the watch hobby. It reminded me of my fashion watch days where I was wearing Michael Kors and Invicta. I had these massive Invictas that just looked ridiculous on my wrist. I had Swiss Legend and Kenneth Cole and Android, right? I'm a little bit ashamed to admit it, but guys, I'm honest with you. And this watch, this NOVE, kind of reminds me of some of the watches that I had before because it's eye-grabbing and it's a conversation piece. And most of all, it's watches like this that get people interested in watches. And maybe down the line, like myself, they become a traditional watch fan where they're into complications and mechanical pieces and some mainstream brands. And they aspire to grail watch ownership and they spend years in the hobby. So I can appreciate something like this because, you know, it's outside my wheelhouse, my norm, right? Outside of what you normally see here on my channel, but it does remind me of why I got into watches. When I was wearing those rose gold Michael Kors watches or those massive Invicta watches, people would say, hey, I like your watch. And we would have a conversation and I would show whatever feature I thought was cool about my watch to that person. And it really helped me get into this hobby here of horology. So this one, I think, is a conversation piece. It's an eye-grabbing watch. Yes, it is rose gold plated. It does have a Swiss quartz movement in it. So it is very different from the watches that I really show you here. But I think it's fun to take a little bit of time, reflect, and appreciate what's good here. So let's put some dimensions here on the screen. This has a rather large diameter. The lug to lug isn't bad. It's almost the same as the diameter. And of course, the highlight here, or the conversation element, is this thin profile under 7 millimeters in height, which I find impressive because this has 200 meters of water resistance. So it actually is a watch that you could take into the ocean or into a lake or a river and use in water. It does have a screw down crown. How are they able to get this so thin? Well, one of the reasons is we have this externally mounted bezel that's outside the main area of the watch. And let me show you the operation here. It's actually kind of fun to have this tactile interaction and seeing these catchments engage with the teeth here. And it's quite loud too. So the bezel is cool. It's externally mounted. We do not have a mechanical movement here. Again, this is a Swiss quartz movement. There is no seconds hand here, so we just have an hour and a minute hand. So we're able to get that height inside the crystal, the sapphire crystal, nice and thin. And it's kind of cool to see about every 14 seconds or so, the minute hand takes a little tick forward. So it's almost imperceptible to the naked eye, but kind of fun when you spend some time and really study the details of the watch. And you guys can see why this would be a conversation starter with just an average person on the street. Now the bracelet is surprisingly solid. There's a nice mix of different finishes here, different angles. There is a NOVE logo medallion here in the center where the butterfly clasp is. And if we look at dial details here, there's some nice stuff. So everything on the dial is applied. The applied markers at the 12 indexes, the Swiss-made designation is all applied, and the logo below the 12 o'clock position here is all applied. There is a thin layer of superluminova on the handset, so I'll give you that lume shot now. Now obviously you're not going to be using this for its low light visibility here, but it is nice to see a little bit of luminescence applied here from Superluminova. So let's zoom back out. Let me give you my final thoughts here, and we're also going to do a giveaway of this watch. Again, this reminds me of why I got into the hobby. It's watches like this that get people interested in watches, and maybe down the line they become crazy watch fans like me, and probably like a lot of you watching this video. So I appreciate that. I think the little things, the thinness, the externally mounted bezel, the cleanliness of the dial are all positive points. Now to this giveaway, anytime a brand gifts me a watch, I like to give it away to local youth. I've done it probably 30 times or so over the past few years, and this one is gonna go to Caden. Caden is an awesome young man here in my local area. He's in high school, he works at a trampoline park, just a stand-up kid. So give Caden a big congrats for his first watch here. I know he's really pumped about it, and hopefully this spurs a lifelong appreciation for watches. And hey, maybe down the road, he will become a crazy watch fan like me and like you. So thanks for taking the time to watch today, guys. I appreciate it. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next video.